A pot of pickled peppers.
Peppers.
Peter Pepper. I do see we're going live here, folks. Chat 10 Sports coming to you. Good evening. My name is Trey Wynn. I've got Chase Green getting back to the basics here. Going to run it down because we do have a ton of things that we're going to talk about and not your average show where we're beating the same topics over and over again. But we got some remakes and some reboots that I'll complain about. Vols basketball that we'll check in with Chase about. And obviously the combine is happening. We'll share our thoughts on that. What Rand Carthon, what Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly actually did say, what they didn't say, and we'll get Chase's thoughts as well. But welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you joining Chat 10 Sports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Chat 10 Sports, where we're talking all things Tennessee sports and everything in between. If you're watching us from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, we do invite you to chat with us live, so make sure and keep that thing live. And if you're listening to us, be sure to follow, subscribe, rate the show, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell for notifications. But folks, with that said, without further ado, let's jump into a brand new episode of Chat 10 Sports.
Chase Green, my man.
What's happening, Captain?
We just jumped on for everybody that's listening, watching now or later. Typically, we'll do a little pregame. Hey, how you been? What's going on? We're going to do that right now just for a little bit, Chase. Give me a little, as we share the show, just want to encourage everyone. That's one reason we do our little intro video. It's just to get some time for all of us to invite our friends because we're going to have a great discussion, and we do want to hear from you. But, Chase, how you doing? Crazy time. Good weather for us here in chat. How have you been?
Dude, we're doing great. I went to the great city of Wilmington, North Carolina for the first time this week. Think of it as, I had a good friend, Sam Blevins, tell me, it's kind of like Savannah if they just did, but Savannah not leaned into the tourism. Like, it's a cool port town. It's just not, it doesn't have that touristy feel. Like some of the nicest houses I've ever been to, there were some sweet restaurants there. They just like don't lean into the whole like Savannah, Charleston, East Coast city vibe, but it was a really good time. We loved it. So it's kind of, it's a good weekend trip. Like I know the Carolina coast is like a really far ways away from anybody in Tennessee. Like it's a journey. It's a haul, man. You know, you're going all the way across, but it's kind of worth it, man. It is awesome.
Heard good things about it.
Good things. And I'll say this on another, before we get to college basketball, Tennessee, Duke, Carolina this weekend is the perfect setup for Carolina to get bumped out of the tournament. They kind of need this win. They're the first team out, according to Joe Lunardi right now. They need this win versus Duke. They got their first quad one. I can't wait for all the college basketball talk coming up here, like quad one wins and crap like that we're just gonna have to start making up. I love it. Carolina has to win, but the team of destiny vibes from last year, this is the perfect setup to get your heart broken on Saturday. And I'm ready to be hurt again. And it's great. So that's where I'm at. I had the high of highs waiting for the low of lows this weekend. How's your week been, buddy?
It's been good, man. We've been laying low. Got my kids. My oldest is in a Aladdin play this weekend, so we're gonna get her ready for everything. But no, man, sports are officially. It's weird day to day. It's like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
What's the news? Obviously, John Morant today. Some crazy news about him. Jalen Carter, some crazy news. Just bombs dropping left and right today.
All over the place, dude.
Yeah, so I was keeping the timeline going on the Twitter, and as we do, we check in with our Tennessee Titans, we check in with our Vols, we check in with all of our favorite people. So again, if you're watching with us, welcome in. If you're watching on Twitter with us, feel free to jump over to YouTube. The chat's not working on the Twitter, but the YouTube is live, so keep that going with us. And if you're coming in from Facebook and elsewhere, I know we're on Twitch as well. We're on Channels Outlet on Facebook and other places as well. So I appreciate you joining. But yeah, a ton happened this week so far. And I do want to touch on just a couple smaller items. Obviously, the Vols having a great win. I think it's 70-something to 50-something. Jim Lacey coming in on Facebook. I see you there. Good evening, sir. But obviously some unfortunate news with surprising win is accurate to say. Were you surprised by the outcome of that game last night against Arkansas for the Vols basketball team?
Yeah, I thought it'd be closer, even with Z. And, we're going to get to that here in just a second. But even with Ziegler, I thought it would be a close. It just seemed like the right time. Arkansas unranked, but they're still a good team. There's a lot of those. Like they're kind of like Missouri. They're better than Missouri. It's kind of one of those deals where they're a good team. They're not ranked. It's a weird year in college basketball. But they're good enough. They're like super talented. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Arkansas like got the tournament and made a run, Sweet 16. You're like, oh yeah, like they're a solid 8 seed or a 7 seed or whatever, and they make it kind of far because they're just talented. So I actually thought that'd be a closer. I actually did think Tennessee was going to win. I thought it'd be like a 68-64 type game or something like that. But Tennessee beat the dog shit out of them last night. It was pretty great.
I did see the score. I didn't watch the whole game, but yeah, watching just some highlights and Ziegler going down from here on. I mean, is it one of those things that, my anticipation, like we've talked about, even before you and Rainey had a real in-depth conversation with the Vols update last week. From here on now, obviously SEC plays come into a close and we're moving into that time of March Madness, but how do you feel with the loss of Ziegler and especially the kind of ups and downs and inconsistencies and again, like the surprising pull away wins from a team like Arkansas?
It's scary because Z's by far your best ball handler. And, it's a weird team because you got guys that can handle the ball, but nobody that's like a really good ball handler left. Z was the only guy that could get close to creating his own shot. He could get by people. I love Vescovy. I really do. I think he has been fantastic the last couple weeks. But when he gets into the spot, at the end of the half was a good example. When he is the primary ball handler in all right, let's start to create some offense in, an end of the half type situation, he dribbles into an unwanted double team or he's not good enough to just like blow by somebody. So you're always having someone on your hip and guys aren't getting open. If it's not a perfect design on the offense, it's going to get really scary in those top moments. And if you lose Vescovy even, then you start to drop down even more. Key and Triple J are guys that like can ride you down. Like they can do the whole dribble up the court, but have you on your hip. They're never going to like blow past people. But all at the same time, to keep people interested, I will say this. If that team plays defense like that and rebounds like they did, like Waka last night was tremendous. If they just keep crushing souls by getting offensive rebounds in the top moments and just bullying people, and they keep doing the quick pass stuff and just be efficient on offense, they're dangerous. Their defense is so good and they're so big that they're just going to just bring you down to the muck. And that's a good point, Gavin. I promise you in the tournament, Gavin points out, he said, if I was an opposing coach, I would full court press Tennessee every game with Z gone. There's going to be certain teams out there that will do something similar. I was texting my brother last night and I said, there's going to be teams that pick you up like 3/4 court. If they were to play like NC State, they have 2 tenacious guards. Like those guys, you're like, if you've ever even played pickup, it's the guys that are just going to try way too hard. They're too athletic to be on this floor with you. They're going to just dog you and hound you, and they want to play defense. They want to strip it, and that's going to happen. Those are the teams I'm really afraid of. There's not a whole lot of those out there this year, to be honest. But Tennessee worries me in moments where they need multiple ball handlers. And to Craig's point, I actually see that possibly on Saturday against Auburn.
Yeah, Craig Story is saying on Facebook, playing Auburn Saturday. I expect to see that press. And I'm thinking just to make sure everyone's clear of the guy that Chase was talking about who's too athletic for this court and shouldn't be out here. I've never been that guy before, just to make sure we're all 100% on the same page.
I was actually talking about Trey Wynn. Yes,
yeah, well, I just want to make sure the air is clear. I know the Twitter's probably firing off like crazy right now, but I've never been that guy.
He's talking about Trey. He's talking. That's getting retweeted right there. Yeah.
Call me Rick if you need any help. I think I have some years of eligibility in case the need comes.
That's true.
But I mean,
that's very true.
It is, yeah. It's those guys that I mean, do set the team apart. And like Gavin did say earlier on Facebook, the loss of Ziegler is going to hurt whenever we're going into the Sweet 16 and beyond, because that's when you have to have the ability. And that dude, as big as I am, seeing a smaller guy, what is he, 5'10", 5'8", 5'9"?
Probably, yeah, it's probably like
Yeah,
5'8"-ish.
yeah, like Bryce Young, who we'll talk about in a little bit, but no, I mean he has the ability to reverse side of the court and open things up and find the lanes and things like that. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. I know, like you said, Auburn playing Saturday, that'll be a good matchup to close it out. But from here on, I mean, are you full steam ahead, or do you want to see something convincing on Saturday to kind of close it out?
Last night was a really good indicator of the potential. When this team plays one unit basketball, they're brutal, man. Like, that defense is nasty. They're so big, so long, and they that's what she said. They just crowd you, and they tip every ball that comes their way. And if you lose your handle, it's going to get stolen. Like, Vescovi's still a pretty dang good defender. That is one thing he has shot through the roof for, is his conditioning and his on-ball defense, and even off-ball defense, to be honest. He's really become good. So there's a lot to look forward to, because this defense is, like, I mean, just so impressive. You're talking about, and they are the number one defense in the country. Like, in defensive efficiency, that's who they are. It's them and UCLA. But you got to score.
Yeah.
And if they play as fluid as they did last night, then they'll be fine. But as Craig mentioned, it's those type of guys in the Sweet 16 and beyond that you're going to get worried, because that's where really good guard play comes in. That's part of the formula. But it's all about matchups. And if there's anybody that's proved that right, it was Carolina last year. Carolina was not that good of a team, but they just played the right people. And if Tennessee plays the right people in the right bracket at the right time, they're good enough to go far. They're good enough to go really far.
Yeah.
And especially if people don't figure it out. It's just, I don't know. They're so up and down. I don't know.
Right. That's the inconsistent. Well, the one consistency I know that's remained, you mentioned it, the defense, because Guy and I at work were talking about the fact that, I mean, that Alabama game, it was like, is Bama playing super sloppy, or is Tennessee creating those turnovers and making the pressures and things like that, which I think we found out that's just how good they can be when it's clicking. But yeah, I mean, I think there's optimism. Again, like, Saturday will be a big tell, and then from there on, I mean, is the table set? Because I know Steven Snyder, I don't want to bring it up if you're not tracking with him, but as far as brackets and how those things line up, is there any type of projections right now that you're aware of?
No, Tennessee, unless they win like the SEC tournament, they'll be a 3. And that's good. I mean, a lot would have to happen. Like, you're pretty solid at a 3 line. Could potentially play your way up to 2, and if you get your butt kicked in the first round, you could be like the number 1 4. It's tough. And Gavin just asked me, he was like, do you foresee teams playing man or zone against Tennessee? It's going to be a big mix, because we've seen multiple teams do this throughout the season. Tennessee has its inefficiencies against both, to be honest. And they've beaten both very well. Like, they tore apart this man defense that Arkansas played. I think Arkansas tried to go into zone, but they're just not big enough. It just depends. But when you go back, and there's been multiple games, Florida did it at times, they're going to switch it up, because the zone is just not Tennessee's forte, especially when guys like Triple J are slow in the shot making process, or if he was really struggling there for a while. And how they play these zones against Tennessee is you shade, and the Tennessee offense, the way it runs, there's only so much you can do against the zone as far as like plays or sets or motion. They're going to always shade towards Vescovi in those moments. And it's like, cool. All right, Jemiah Meshack. All right, Triple J. All right, Adu. All right, Kamwa. Like, those are your guys. Beat us in some other way. I just really think, and it's going to be mostly 2-3. 1-3-1s will be different, like if you have the right guys, but there's not a lot of people that are good at it. I think Tennessee's too good of a quick passing team Like the 1-3-1 would be an inefficient thing unless you get them like on one surprise. But after that, one time or two times, Tennessee's going to figure it out. This is a pretty high IQ basketball team for the most part. Meshach's really come along, and you just can't keep leaving guys open on the backside. Adu, Kamwa, even Euros at times, like they're just too big to like you can bail yourself out of trouble in a lot of situations like that. There's going to be a lot of change up defenses against Tennessee because there's too many small inefficiencies, but Tennessee better be ready to see a lot of different looks in the next couple weeks.
It'll come at them pretty quick. I'm sure it will, and I'm sure we'll keep an eye on it too. And obviously, keep an eye on, as you see above Chase, their channel. Check out their podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, check the description out because all the links for us, Chat 10 Sports channel, all those guys as well. You can follow them and check them out in case you want to go deep dive into some Vols. I know we typically, or at least right now, are hitting on a ton of Titans since so many storylines are kicking up and going like that. And speaking of storylines, Chase, I kind of want to make this quick rant here before we jump into the meat of our show.
Oh, please do.
But as you see on our graphic here below me, the beautiful man, Aragorn, the king. We all love him. We all know him. Played by the great Viggo Mortensen, released in the original, 2002 or 3 or 4 released edition of The Lord of the Rings. Now, the reason I bring this up is because for some freaking reason, right, Warner Brothers, who owns the rights to the Lord of the Rings franchise, yada, 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 they want to reboot and remake and make the Lord of the Rings universe similar to how they're doing Star Wars now, where everything, the whole timeline, has to be packed full like a little bookcase with every single little detail. Why in the world would anyone want and need, or, I mean, the technology updates, I don't think are to the point where our jaws will be on the floor to say this is a whole new experience.
Yeah.
With anything that you're looking at with Andy Serkis's production for Smeagol or Gollum and all the CGI that they use in that. Now, just the rant there. I'm all for new things. I'm all for new technologies. I'm all for new images like the Avatar. I haven't seen the second Avatar yet, but when Avatar, the first one, came out, it was, beautiful and obviously broke records and so on and so forth. That stuff is great, even though it's a regurgitated story of basically Pocahontas, right? I mean, Avatar,
yeah.
Let's just call space. But all that to say, I'm all for it. Sorry to rant real quick, but we do not need any more Lord of the Rings offshoots. Now, here's the thing. If they want to continue the whole Amazon thing, haven't heard great things about it, mixed reviews.
Have you? You didn't watch it?
I have not watched it. I've also, I know we've talked about The Last of Us. I have some catching up to do, so we might have to check back on that one.
Let's stay here for just a minute. Stay here just a minute. I would say the new Lord of the Rings on Amazon, it's an entertainer. It's not something like I just couldn't wait. Like The Last of Us right now, like I can't wait till Sundays. The basic white guy in me, I can't wait for Yellowstone on Sundays.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sign me up, dude. Hannah literally, I love like the 1883, 1923s are like actually way better than the show Yellowstone. I like Yellowstone, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But those two series are fantastic. But I think I'm so sick of these remakes. It just feels lazy. It's really bad. Like, I mean, we're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I get like you're hitting the nostalgia, you're going to make money and you got to compete in weird ways. I don't know.
Yeah. Just going to throw some comments up here on Facebook. Craig's story, since he's up here, just calling out basic white girl Chase coming at you straight up.
I'm being honest.
And Blake Randy Vol coming through saying there's no creativity anymore. Everything is a reboot or a carbon copy, which also can lead into a whole, we can avoid a lot of the craziness of this discussion, but The Little Mermaid is coming out, and it's now the main character is being portrayed by an African-American girl, and everything's on fire because of it. And now, new Tinkerbell is being played by an African-American girl, and everyone's losing their mind. And it's like, we understand, one, these are not real stories, right? But we have also understood in the idea of, the multiverse of madness. There's different variations of different characters, and they don't always have to be what we have known them traditionally to be. But all that to say, Craig Story coming in here saying The Mandalorian started back today. It's worth watching. I've heard for some reason there's some time jumps that need to be clarified prior to that. True Lies is a TV show now. Is that right? I remember that movie when I was a kid, but not to get completely derailed, but that's my rant about reboots, the lack of creativity. And speaking of the lack of creativity, I do have a bone to pick, and I did tell Chase this prior to us going on recording. This is the time of year where people are going to try and fool you and sell you this snake oil pitch of why this matters so much. And listen to this opinion I have about X, Y, and Z, and this person, and why they should not be on this roster, and why this person could, and here's how this NFL. Half of the things that you're hearing right now today in sports about the NFL, about the mock draft, right? Half of the stuff that's being generated about opinions about Rand Carthon's comments that we heard yesterday from the combine, half of it's not going to mean a thing in 5 days to 7 days, and even before free agency officially kicks off. This team, which we heard Tim Kelly say, depending on who is still here, the roster is not set. So what are you expecting them to talk about as the Titans coach and GM and offensive coordinator now? It's mind blowing that people are legitimately taking, and we talked about this, Rand Carthon's comments about the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. I heard it listening to it, well, I guess pretty quick to the release of the time. And again, if you're watching with us, tell us your thoughts, especially if you're watching Titans with us. Jump on Facebook, Twitch. I know we're on YouTube as well, so please let us know what you thought about it. But Rand Carthon clarified this, and he went on with Buck Rising on 104.5 The Zone as well to make the point of, you never heard anything about Ryan Tannehill not being our quarterback from in-house. It's all the narratives of this time of the year, and with good reason, right? No one's just making smoke and just making a fire out of nothing here. Derek Carr's out here, and the Jets are saying they believe him to be the potential of a first-round Hall of Famer. I think I'm being generous by saying it that way.
Okay.
That's a take, but they still haven't signed him yet. And again, Daniel Jones is out here saying he wants an average of $35-45 million a year. No way. And little old Ryan Tannehill probably, and to, I forget who was saying it, but to their point, saying that Ryan Tannehill probably does want some security right now. He wants to know where he's going to be, what's going to happen. Is he going to have a year here in Nashville and then get shipped off? But the thing is, Rand Carthon did not make any definitive statement outside of Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback right now.
Yeah. And
they're open to business about the 11th overall pick. You know that Ryan Tannehill, and I'll say this, man, Ryan Tannehill's stock as a quarterback, especially among the other alternative options with Derek Carr, with Jimmy Garoppolo out there, and I saw something on Twitter today that had Vegas, the odds for where's Carson Wentz going to land, and they had plus 700 for the Titans. And I about threw up in my mouth just thinking about that alternate reality. But Chase, from what you saw and what you heard, what did you make of the conversations that kind of came about from media appearances yesterday for the Titans? And did you get anything out of it?
I don't know how much I get out of it, because doesn't it feel like, how much do you believe any GM, honestly, anybody in the realm? I don't know whether to believe sources. I don't know whether to believe coaches, because I do feel like there's multiple times in the off season where you hear we're looking, and they phrase it similarly, we're really, really solid about Tannehill being our QB1 going forward, but they leave enough to where it's like, well, if the right offer came, how often do you feel like these are right? I would like to see a number.
How often they are,
how many times do you feel like that these get turned around, or we believe, Ryan Tannehill is going to be our QB1 for the next year. And how often do they get traded and it turns around to well, we found a really good offer?
Yeah, well, the problem that, and this actually happened, so I'm glad that you're kind of bringing it up, and I'm looking it up on Twitter right now. But as like soon as the news dropped of Rand Carthon's clip of Ryan Tannehill goes, right,
Mm-hmm.
makes no definitive statement. Ian Rappaport puts a video out from NFL Network, which he's on behind the booth talking with two other analysts. He says he is a Titan and he will be a Titan. No definitive timeline there.
Yeah.
Absolutely no definitive timeline there. And the thing was, these guys are sitting here fishing for things. But here's the reality. Here is the Wizard of Oz moment when the curtain opens up and you see what's really happening behind everything. You know damn well Ian Rappaport is close with Ryan Tannehill's agent. And you're thinking, hey, the market, Lamar Jackson's over there. He's trying to get fully guaranteed. Ryan Tannehill is making a pretty team-friendly cap hit this year. Obviously, his dead cap's been hit out or whatever it is, but he's taking far less than what the average quarterback will be taking on as the market is rising, right? So all that to say, and here's what I really want people to say. I forget who said this, and it might have been Zach Lyons on F Words Pods, talking about Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard. These deals that these guys have taken on, it's not about these players. It's not about how good they are or how bad they are. John Robinson backloaded all of these contracts because we've talked about this and we've cringed at having to say his name. But Kevin Byard making over $19.5 million this year.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. I mean, compared to the market for his position. But all that to say, it's the same it's the same thing with Henry, with Tannehill, but it's the philosophy that we all might have difference with in saying, how do we want to approach this? Because Steven Stunner coming in here saying Tic Tac Titans thinks Tannehill is gone. Love Tyler Rowland, respect him, and I agree that Tannehill, the days go by and he looks prettier and prettier. Because I don't know if you saw this today, but the Panthers are reworking some type of deal to keep Sam Darnold around, whether it's a rookie quarterback they get or they try and find somebody else. But you got to think, time's going to come to the crunching point where the market's going to open up, and these quarterbacks are probably going to get scooped up pretty quick.
Yeah, there's going to be a wave real quick.
But Tannehill's going to be sitting there looking like the belle of the bull, right? I mean,
yeah, kind of, but I feel like all these quarterbacks, I'm even putting Rodgers in there. I mean, to be honest, right now, like he's the most talented, but he also brings a lot to your franchise.
So many questions there.
So many questions, and you're like,
love to talk about it.
He's a year-to-year guy, like so. All these guys are like right there in the same tier system, whatever you want to call these quarterbacks. I mean, Derek Carr has some really nice moments. Jimmy Garoppolo is a winner, but is it just because he's really handsome? Like, let's be honest. Like, if he was just meh, like, what would you think about him? There's just so many like little things throughout this whole. I mean, Wentz is the worst, but then there's some teams that Jimmy Garoppolo could play on and Carson Wentz could play on, and they'd have the same record. Like, if they both went to the Panthers, that team could probably still only win 7 games or 8 games with one of those two. Like, they're not dominating, but Tannehill's a guy that can win you some games. Is he the guy that can get you to the Super Bowl with just a pretty good roster, or does he need the perfect roster to get you there? They're all in that same bracket. Like with Derek Carr, you're like, well, he could probably get us here, but he's not going to get you over the hump. Like Kirk Cousins to me is better than Derek Carr. I don't know. Do you feel like that there's anybody in this that'd be like worth it? I feel like it's a bidding war for meh quarterbacks. Kind of like last year in the draft. Like people wound up falling. I hope this year the NFL corrects itself. If you pick up what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think as far as like, I think that the most consistent, intriguing person out there as far as quarterbacks, as far as market availability, because everyone still, for some reason, like counts Tom Brady out there that he's going to come back or whatever it is. But Carr, Garoppolo, I mean, other players that could be out there as well, because Jameis Winston could try and get out of, New Orleans or whatever it is.
That'd be a weird one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the Titans are in a position. Marcus Mariota is available now, which for the love of
Oh
God, please
God, dude.
keep
Did you
that
hear
down.
anything? Did you see tweets out there? Did you
Oh, I mean, people were joking, but the majority of what I saw on Titans Twitter was "Don't even start" or "Don't say a word" or whatever it was. But no, I want to get to your question about like with Ryan Tannehill. Like, I don't think he is going to be the guy for anybody. And I mean, we've seen crazier thing happen, but for him to all of a sudden become like this top 5 quarterback, MVP. But there are teams out there like the Jets who want to be competitive. Even for the Titans, they want to be competitive. And we know right now, and I'm sure they are calculating every single move and every single step. And obviously the Bud Dupree move that has yet to be made, and there's still the conversation out here. I see that as one of those what is it, June designations that you could wait and to do it then potentially have more money that you can save or whatnot. But I don't think they're in a hurry to do anything outside of these obvious steps because I mean, this team could be completely different with the two guys that we're talking about in our graphic here of Henry and Tannehill.
Yeah.
Now, this is the philosophy that I'm kind of approaching it with that a lot of people do differ in the sense that Derrick Henry is a top 5 running back in this league. And I've had to be clear on that on Twitter because I've been dubbed a Derrick Henry hater. I see him as a shiny car that has years and years of productive, I mean, get you there and back and do it in a flashy style. The guy's got the name, he's got the brand, he has the reputation, he has all of his endorsements and yada, yada, yada. The guy has value right now, and that value is going to evaporate soon. And the more miles you put on that car, the more it depreciates. And the thing is, it's not about liking Derrick Henry. It's not about anything with him as a player. He could be shipped too. And I know this is all hypotheticals of, well, you got to wonder if he landed on a team like the Bills. Like, that would be an incredible opportunity for him to go get a ring like AJ just tried to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing that's business. We all watched Eddie George become a Cowboy, right? We all saw that happen. We all saw Emmitt Smith become a Cardinal. Like, it's all weird.
Yeah. It's
It
very weird
sucks.
business.
But people need to hit the inhaler and take a deep breath in and realize if this team on the cusp of rebuilding, retooling, whatever we're gonna, reassign it, whatever we're gonna do. The thing is, there are opportunities for them to kind of hit one of those, what is it, like Rainbow Road little tracks that just launches you into the future, right? Or launches you into the next part of the track.
Yeah.
Rand Carthon is the ace in the hole that or I guess the wild card, I should say, because we know what John Robinson did, and we're still feeling the impact of the deals and all the whiffs and everything that he made. If Rand Carthon brings in good talent with Mike Vrabel, and even if they shake the whole thing up and Tannehill gets shipped out and they move up or whatever is going to be panning out in the coming months, this guy has a great opportunity right now to hit the ground running. And if it's not a quarterback change this year, to do it in 2024 and stay competitive through a pretty, they've already made the obvious moves that we've already all kind of seen coming. But I just said a ton, Chase. What are you thinking? Give it to me straight.
That last point was pretty good because they can stay competitive, because even if the Colts or the Texans jump up and get this big pick, it's a better long-term move for them. But the Jags, it did take an 8-game winning streak for them to get in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it did take a pretty bad Titans loss, and it took like 8 straight losses or whatever it was for us at the end.
7 straight.
7 straight for us. So with all that said, the Titans are still 1B in this conference right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that have won it. Even if the Colts or the Texans get their guy, CJ Stroud and then Bryce or whoever, or Anthony or whoever they get, and if it works out, it's still going to be a rookie quarterback. So you still have your year, maybe 2-year window to potentially keep winning this conference. So if you do keep Derrick, Rand's going to have to hit on some more late round picks again. Because if you hit on those the next 2 years, you still have a weird window if you tool this thing right. And, it's going to take a lot. He's going to have to be pretty much perfect for this. If you want to keep this window alive, which you do have, even if they jump up, it's going to be dramatic. And the Colts got their guy. Like, let's say it's Bryce. Let's say we're just going to go hypothetically. Like maybe the Colts move up to number 1. And they get their guy in Bryce. I love Bryce. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be really good as long as he stays healthy.
Huge asterisk there.
Huge asterisk. We'll get into that. We'll get into that here shortly too. I know we've talked about it multiple times, but huge asterisk. But if he is so talented, it's kind of worth the gamble to me. If they get that, you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to be? They're not going to be great. He's not going to be great right away. I'm sorry. It's just not the way the NFL works. So he's going to have some big magical moments and he'll do some good things with the Colts. But they're not going to I don't think they're going to win the division with a rookie quarterback. They're not good enough.
But that's the kind of team though.
You think so?
If it's the Titans or it's the Jags and they're competing for that late week 17, 18, we have to win this thing. And don't sleep on them Colts that are that's my concern. Like with just to kind of trail along with what you're saying, the AFC South is changing. And if the Titans, my focus right now is fix the offense, fix the offensive line. Even if Henry's back, you make your changes, and we'll talk about predictability and Tim Kelly's comments there and all that kind of stuff too. But
oh my gosh, Tim Kelly.
I don't think you have to make these huge overhaul changes. Yes, the pattern of the game, the feel of the game, and when to call what, and hey, your run pass or run pass or whatever it is, like it doesn't work. But this is a different guy and a different offensive coordinator. But all that to say, it's a concern for me when these little decisions and gambles could have huge implications, obviously, for the direction of your franchise, but the other franchises in the division, where, again, the Titans have dominated here recently because the division has been so bad. If we want to really talk straight about it, I'm going to get close to the microphone just to be like, hate to be that guy. But if any of these teams were more competitive, the Titans would not have had this run. And now that we have a new GM, I'm intrigued and I'm optimistic, but I also think they could whiff.
Yeah, it's crazy that the Jags really found it in their best respective way, and them being like a pretty good team. Like they weren't a great team this year. They had a really good run. I'll give them all the credit for, winning 8 straight down the stretch and doing their thing, but they weren't a great team, Trevor was really good, that offense towards the end, and there was some good things. I don't want to take much away from them. They did get there. They got to their playoff game, the whole kit and caboodle. It just, once again, to hit on your point, the division's been really bad, and the Titans have still only gotten, they got the 1 seed that year, but they got to beat up on the AFC South.
Yeah.
Well,
is that me or you?
That's me.
Okay.
The only siren you'll hear in North Raleigh. It's like the safest place I've ever been in the world.
Well, I was going to say, I want to make sure that and I know we got some news here. Crick's story on Facebook's breaking it saying Vandy just beat UK in Rep Arena. So maybe get your reaction there, Chase. What do you think about that news?
I love it because I heard on like 15 different pods and the articles I read, like, watch out for Kentucky. They're figuring it out. That's all. It always happens. Like they were playing really well. I'm not going to lie to you. Like they played really well. But I still don't believe in them. I'm sorry. Like, even today I heard somebody talk about it. Like they could be a sneaky dark horse. They've played as well as anybody,
Mm-hmm.
And they have talent, but they ain't going to get there. There's still 2 inefficiencies they have as well. Yeah. Vandy keeps beating like top teams in this. I don't get it. They're so annoying. I hate Vandy too. Both those teams can just go kick rocks. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Gavin, a couple good comments I want to throw up here from him saying, I think Trey is saying, what if the Colts and Texans figure it out. Yes, I think they're on that track. But like Chase, I think what you're saying, the Jags, and yes, we don't want to get their heads so blown up that they are the definitive number one. But let us not forget the cavern, the valley that they crawled out of with the Urban Meyer stint. And again, Gavin's second comment here, let's not forget the Jags got Calvin Ridley back, who I think he has recently applied for reinstatement. Yet to be 100% there. But no, my concern is I mean, the Titans have a pretty clear route here to be a competitive team. Maybe it's that wild card team, maybe because, again, if the Jaguars continue their success, I know they have, I think, roughly the same amount of money that the Titans do now after all the recent Lawan, Randy Bullock, and other player releases. But all that to say, I'm.
And the Jags did retool Zay Jones and who's their other wide receiver?
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, they retooled their contracts again, so they opened up some money.
Is also coming back.
Yeah, and he really came back and came through for them towards the end. Shout out to my fantasy team. Yeah, but it's still the Jags to me, and I know that everything's shifted. I know they've changed ownership. They've done a lot better, but they were in an AFC Championship game not too long ago, and then it all fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still the Jags. I could be totally wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't make the playoffs again. So they could be a fall off.
I'd be surprised by that. I'm just thinking too, and again, like we're talking about the Titans potentially changing with trades and things like that and trying to be competitive within division. The conversation around Derrick Henry too, of the hypothetical of him being moved. At some point, the Titans have to get away from this offense, and I think they're trying to tweak it. We have no idea what it means, what it looks like right now. But can you do what other teams are doing while you have Derrick Henry in the backfield making as much money as he's making? I don't see them getting away from his stuff. Like not Todd Downing's version of the outside tosses and all the zone runs that would fail because your offensive line's so poor. But
do you feel like if they added somebody, a more versatile back, and then just bumped Henry down a little bit on the work usage? Because Rand did find a guy. If you've watched any of the 49ers before, Elijah Mitchell can ball out, dude. He was the one that found that guy.
Yeah.
And so if you find a guy, I mean, it's hard to find Elijah Mitchells. I understand that. But if you were to find somebody with more versatility and you start to bring down some of Henry's usage in a good fashion, because he could use it. He could use it if he had a good enough back to go up. Do you think that would make a whole lot of difference? And let's say we just get to an average offensive line. Like, do you think that would help out your philosophy on keeping Henry?
Yeah, well, I just think the time is now for one part of my philosophy or my thinking with all this stuff with Henry. I just don't think you can have him making that much and not just milk him for one last time.
Okay.
But I do think if they were able to trade him, and I've seen people talking about second rounders and fourth rounders or a third and a fifth, things like that, which the Titans don't have a fourth rounder right now because of the Julio trade. So to recoup that, there's the potential. I mean, they have a really good opportunity right now. Mike McGlinchey is obviously tied to Rand Carthon as a 49ers player. There has been rumored interest. He played left tackle in college. Also, Nicholas Petit-Frere played left tackle, who Paris Johnson Jr., who a lot of the mock drafts are showing the Titans to get. Yeah, fingers crossed for him to play left tackle. So I think they could fix those two bookend positions and have guys maybe get one other interior offensive lineman. I think Ben Jones is all but retired today and announced it as of yet. But I think that will be the guys like Corey Levin or Aaron Brewer or other guys like if Nicholas Petit Frere was to move into right guard or whatnot, and Mike McGlinchey went out there and they drafted Terrence Johnson Jr. There's stuff to work with in the versatility aspect as far as what you have, but I think a long-winded answer to answer your question, like they could do, I don't know, some type of adjusted rendition of what you saw Art Smith pull off pretty well.
Yeah. And when you say that, yes, there's going to be needed depth. But it kind of feels like if you hit on a pretty dang good draft pick at left tackle or right tackle, and you bring a guy like Glinsky in, it doesn't feel like you're that far away, right?
No, I mean that's my thought, and especially too like the guys that were injured last year. I can't think of his name. Jones, he wore number 73, came in, got hurt really quick, and that's why they went straight to Dennis Daly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and obviously they're going to bring Dennis Daly back. Is he going to be?
Oh God.
Who knows? But that's the thing. Like at this point in time, it's just we're sitting on our hands waiting for this, and it's maddening to hear all these things about the combine, which I do want to talk to you about. Because Chase, I don't think the combine. I think the combine's kind of useless to the average lay person in the sense of what it means as entertainment. Do I think it's cool to watch these guys do crazy, feats? It's like the Olympics. It's like, hey, great job with that 36-inch vertical. Great job with your 40 reps at bench press that set the record for this year. And it's obviously like the 40-yard dash. But you just get guys and you get their names for a week and a half. They go wherever they go in the draft. And like, who was it? Receiver that got drafted by the Bengals, John something that had a crazy 40-yard dash and fizzled out.
Yep. John Ross.
Yes, John Ross. Where was he from? This is like trivia on the spot.
I don't remember, but I remember he was a part of that Corey Davis, that whole wide receiver run that there weren't a whole lot.
Yes, the miss on John Ross. Where did he go? Someone tell me that in the chat if you don't mind.
Washington. Yes. Okay.
Good call there. But yeah, I just thought, like, for the sake of what the combine actually is, right? You can have all the metrics, and like even today I read a tweet like, offensive linemen who are running a 4.7 cone drill or lower have played 84% of the snaps for the teams they get drafted by. And it's like, it's a cheat code. It's like, what are we talking about? This is like a snake oil, eat this and you'll lose 40 pounds. It's like, you just find your offensive lineman, but they have to run a 4.7 3-cone or better. Just like, means absolutely nothing. So all that to say, like, I might zone out here for a little bit as far as football, because I just feel like we're going to be talking about like, oh, so-and-so did this. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not intrigued.
I'll say this. I think the combine is useful in the fact, I actually think like the 3-cone stuff and the 10-yard sprint for like defensive, like for edges, is a huge indicator, because like here's a perfect example is last year. What's his face that came out of Georgia that wound up going to the Jags, first overall pick? Yeah. No. Yep. For the last year, the first overall pick.
Wasn't it Tavon Walker?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it was Tavon. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So they didn't. I mean, he did well. But Aiden Hutchinson was another one that tested. They were worried about his athleticism. Remember, it was between him and Aiden last year. He and Trayvon could be 1-2. We don't know yet. And Aiden showed out, and it gave the indication of like he's a solidified number 2 because he ran these drills so impressive. And those numbers do help, because you're like, what if he, you see the game film, and I remember Aiden had that rough like game against Ohio State because all they did was like just try to take him out. It's like, dude, you had a whole team against you. And it's like, well, but for guys like Aiden, it can help.
But, see,
but nobody watches the 3-cone drill.
No, but my thing is, it only confirms things you already know about guys. They just do it in front of you live, and even pro days. Like,
Pro
what?
days are where like most of it happens, I feel like.
But my thought, like, I get it, I get it. It's gotta happen. But it's another one of those things. Like National Signing Day has become this big, extravagant event for these guys that very well could transfer out of that place in a year.
Yeah.
For the next 3 years, I'm going to be playing at the university of whatever the hell they're going to give me now. You know,
Yeah.
it's that vibe where it's like this does not matter because again, like Gavin Jones saying Jordan Davis is running a 4.740 help this suck. Sure, but he was already going in the first round. It's just a matter of who's going to like him more. And what you're saying too about Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker, all that situational base, right? Nick Bosa has had the success he has had in that system because he is an incredible player and an incredible piece, and he has eaten thoroughly. You know what I'm saying? As far as just his abilities. So all that to say, I'm not intrigued by it, if that makes sense.
No, I'm intrigued by the opposite. I always like to find who's going to be like their superhero. Who was the safety out of USC? I don't remember how long ago it was. I think his last name was May, and he was like 6'3", 6.
Yep.
Yeah, jacked. Oh, he had it all. He was a freakazoid. Where is he? Couldn't tell you. And people are like, man, he's going to move up. He's going to kill it. They know. It's all about game film. Like if you're a good NFL GM, if you're the guy that gets talked in, if it took you all the way to the combine to figure out a guy, like, oh, wow, he's really good. You're not doing your job very well. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, and will I watch it? Will I retweet some things that are cool and fun to watch? I just disagree.
Yeah, will.
I just disagree that there's it's such, you have to see it, and like, oh, we're all supposed to become familiar with why this, 8 3/4 inches is a big red flag for a quarterback's hand measurement. It's like they're either going to do well or not, and I think a lot of this stuff too, like a lot of players that you could point at and saying, hey, this guy did well, is the situation they are going into, which again, it's valuable for that team to analyze and do all that stuff to draft them. But please don't sit out here on Twitter acting like you're some analytics guru of why some dude's, vertical is going to set the record and get them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So many of these players are just like, which speaking of, we could talk about XFL. I don't know if you've watched XFL, but
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't watch a damn minute of it, buddy.
Developmental. I was disappointed from week 1 to week 2 because they went from a big old shiny nice arena that was sectioned off for their seating, and they went to like literally a freaking high school football stadium.
No,
it looked like it. Not to throw shade. I guess I know they're trying to do it smart and make sure it can last more than 1 year.
Yeah,
sure, cutting costs is of import to Dwayne the Rock Johnson and his team, but yeah, man. All that to say, I just I don't know how much I'm going to be out here on the Twitter streets really engaging until we have some meat to the bone type of move or smoke to fire that is worth sustaining.
Yeah, it's the combine is it's a spectator sport in the fashion of like the things that I want to watch the combine. I want to see actually how fast Jalen Hyatt runs the 40. Like they actually set his here we are with gambling craziness.
Yeah.
They have set his over under at a 40 time at 4.3 flat. So now I'm intrigued. Like it's things like that that'll keep me intrigued, but I don't care.
Would you actually bet on that? Would you straight up bet on if he's sub 4.3?
I can't do that kind of stuff.
Oh,
like for me, like I love to bet on games. I love to do stuff like that, but I'm just not degenerate enough to like do small stuff. Like I've never done the coin flip, but stuff like that. Like it's just, I don't know.
The degenerate. I'm sure we've all made some crazy degenerate life.
Oh, I'm sure I have. Like I put together parlays that should make no sense at all, but I do that stuff. And yeah, especially like, if you're at the bar with your buddies and you're like, dude, I'm feeling Phoenix's third score to score 40, and I was feeling Mikal Bridges to get 35 tonight. You're like, oh, that's dumb. But yeah, I can't bet on the 40 time or bench press reps. I don't know that part. No thanks.
That is, well, I'll say this: if a guy's throwing up some bench, it's cool. It's cool for the.
It's cool.
And I'll say this too. I know. Speaking of combine drills, Madden is apparently going to get overhauled in the coming years or whatnot. And
Really?
throw back to those. Remember the old games on Madden where it was training camp games, and you're practicing as a running back or a quarterback or a receiver, and you're running routes. And I hope to see more of that. But there was, I think, 1 year or 2 years where they had combine drills, and you were using the thumbsticks to run the 40, and it was harder than crap. And
It was so awful, wasn't it?
oh, dude, the bench press, you had to have the timing on the thumbsticks, or you were off, and it was all. Oh man, I was cussing at the screen as like a high school or whatever it was whenever it came out. But
the 40 time was so hard.
It was. But I'm telling you, that was one of those cool little side games that was like, all right, hey, I want my dude to be good here. My creative player that I'm going to go get drafted in the first round. You better have a 4-3. Anyways, yeah, just to close this out, any last topics you want to touch before we put a bow on it?
No, man. This coming week's one of my favorite times of the year. I actually love the actual conference tournament weeks. SoCon starts this weekend. So, any UTC, ETSU people, we got that going on. Vols are going to be interesting to see what happens next week in the SEC tournament. I might make the journey over to Greensboro if Carolina somehow makes to a Final Four of the ACC tournament. I might go over there, but as of right now, buddy, this is going to be Duke Carolina week. Carolina has to win. Yeah, there's a lot to say about that part, but Vols are going to be very intriguing going forward. I'm sure we'll retweet something about the combine at some point because there'll be some freakazoid.
I'll just be the one to sit here and be like, meh.
I'll say this. I don't want to disclose any names or anything, but there's the gym that I go to here is basically strength performance, and it's based and saw actually a couple guys from the NFL that go there. And once again, it just proves to me how unathletic I am compared to an NFL athlete. This is a big defensive lineman. And he moves like a cat.
So wait, would we know this guy if you drop his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't,
yeah, no,
it seems creepy. Yeah. So
I just want to get that part. So I'm like, okay.
we would definitely know him. I did not recognize the other guy. I couldn't remember. I knew this guy for a reason. But he's probably 6'4", 285, just monster, moving weights that I can't even fathom, doing box jumps on a 30-incher like it's just nothing. So that part always impresses me. As a dude that had aspirations to be some kind of athlete and that sometimes feels like a decent athlete.
Yeah.
I really oddly enjoy those humbling moments. Man, we're just not that good. And that's okay. I love to watch the great human beings do great human being things. And even if it's in a gym like that, where my gym is set up and designed for hardcore, more athletic style training. There's a big volleyball players, track people, soccer kids, even not quite CrossFitters, but a lot of bodybuilders and powerlifters there too. So just an all around awesome gym. But this guy the owner wanted people like this guy to come in and do training. And with Raleigh being such a big city during the off season stuff, you'll get some guys that come in there and you're like, man, we're a long ways away from that kind of athleticism. So
yeah.
It's always fun to see the difference.
I had a friend of mine that that we went to a Titans game with that would working in a CrossFit gym in Nashville, and all of a sudden Rob Gronkowski's walking in. Rolling out with them and just okay. But yeah, this guy is just a massive woolly mammoth of a dude, but just able to get out there and move. But yeah, man, let's put a bow on this, man. And I know I'm trying to think of some other things that could happen by the time that we see everyone next week. Obviously, trades in the NFL, like Jay said, this weekend versus Auburn is going to be a big one for the Vols of basketball. Vols baseball, I know they're just getting cooking. They're getting their feet wet. The opening day was like last week, right?
Yeah. Tony V got suspended for
I saw that.
for the new fresh shortstop that we supposedly, I don't know, got a plane ticket for. Weird stuff.
Mhm.
Wano is just one of the best pickups we got, and it looks dicey. It's just because people don't like Tennessee.
I've
But I'll
heard.
say this: once again, it proves Tennessee fan base. I want to give so much credit to, even if it's the fact, even though they can be so annoying sometimes, the fact that they can change the landscape of college baseball to make it more popular because you create a villain. And if you've not seen the new Ant-Man, when you create a great villain that's like tough as nails, Thanos, the Joker, Bane, all these villains throughout these stories, they're the best part of the movies
Mhm.
because they can also win. And I think that's Tennessee. And I kind of like it.
It's playing the heel, man, and that's a
It is.
reason. I mean, obviously, some wrestlers have made a career on that. I haven't seen the new Ant-Man yet. I've never even seen an Ant-Man movie outside of what he's been in. I was gonna say I've
You
heard.
should probably watch the first. I think it's the first one or second one. I can't remember. Yeah, if you could watch them, like they're not bad. You don't really have to have it. There's just one character in there that you probably like to know, but just to get a gist of like the family dynamic. But other than that, like probably could like read a couple things, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's all you need. But I enjoyed it. It's entertaining. Say like an 8.4. Kang's amazing. Yeah,
8.4?
8.4. It's not high. It's not super high. Like I mean, like for me, like Infinity War is like a 9.8, 9.9. I love that
Okay.
movie. It's really entertaining. Kang's kind of worth it, like to know
That's
where
what
it's
I've
gonna
heard.
go.
That's
Yeah.
what I've heard. Yeah, he is. Well, and I don't know. I'm kind of MCU'd out. Not to get on this whole tangent about the MCU, but I haven't even seen Love and Thunder, and Thor's my dude.
Uh
That's
I probably wouldn't.
that's what I'm
I hate
saying.
to,
That's
I
what
hate to say it. I probably wouldn't.
I
Like I
have a
think
hard time. That's what I'm saying. I have a hard time paying attention to the stuff I like to watch, and it's like I'm giving you a chance, and it's very slim. So
yeah, I mean Ragnarok was so good. I kind of, if I were you, I wouldn't run it with Love and Thunder. I hate to say it. It's the worst Marvel movie I've seen.
even worse than Black Widow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Love and Thunder was like, it was because you also had the effect of Ragnarok was so good that you're gonna innately compare it in like the comedy aspect and things like that. They did a really, really poor job with it.
Just more of the
It's really
same
bad.
attempts, and it didn't quite land.
Oh yeah. Like it's way too much comedy, and you're like, dude, it's exhausting. Like, let's figure out a balance here. And they
Yeah.
didn't. They didn't even come close. It was really bad.
Well,
It was really
spoiler
bad.
alert for anybody who hasn't seen anything that we're talking about. But now to put a bow on this thing, I appreciate everybody joining us live. Obviously, if you're watching or listening, check out the description box on the podcast or on the YouTube that you're watching, and have everything from our socials, from our Substack channel, obviously, as well, Channel TM podcast with Rainey, Austin, Lacey, and their whole crew as well. Make sure and give them a listen and a follow. But yeah, appreciate you jumping in. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And folks, it has been a good one. Even better in here throwing a last minute. Maybe Cocaine Bear will stop Taurus from getting close to the Bears and the Smokies, man.
That would be smart. Yeah.
We,
Your Instagram video is not worth getting eaten by a bear because if you watch The Revenant, good luck.
yeah, good Lord. That was way too real
Yeah.
for me. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We will see you next time. We will